Very much, Congressman. We appreciate those remarks. And what we're going to do now is we're going to do a round of questions. We're going to do 5-minute questions. The ranking member and I have discussed that and agreed to that. That doesn't mean that doesn't mean it's going to end it. We're going to attempt to do another 5-minute round for those who are anxious to have more questions answered. So with that, let me start. First of all, I was impressed to hear what President Trump has always insisted on and has certainly talked to us about, and that is the fact that the founding mission of the UN is such a bright and brilliant light. The difficulty is the execution of their mission bears no resemblance to what their original mission was, which is really unfortunate. And we have in the past, and I hope in the future, rely more and more on doing bilateral and multilateral agreements with other countries without the United Nations, and to perform some of the things that the United Nations is attempting to do ourselves. We're the United States of America. We can do anything. And we certainly can perform those functions. The best example I can give you is the Abraham Accords. The Abraham Accords are probably going to be looked at in history as a turning point in the Middle East. It was done under President Trump last time. It was President Trump's administration who was the leading force on this, and the United Nations had absolutely nothing to do with it. And it is a great success in the Middle East, or a place where you see very few great successes. So we can do these things. We put a tremendous amount of money into the United Nations to do things that we can do. For instance, feeding folks. We do a lot of it ourselves through USAID, but we do a lot through the UN. In doing that, the UN has hired, for instance, UNRWA to do it, an organization I don't want anything to do with. I don't want any connection to UNRWA, and yet here we are working with them. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do to start with that will ratchet down the number of people that are clogging the New York streets up there with employees from other places, and make it a mission that's our own. Your thoughts?
Thank you, Chairman Risch. I wanted to point out, and I'm glad you referenced the Abraham Accords. I think we can look to the success of our bilateral relationships and various multilateral partnerships and build on that within the UN. For example, we have the Abraham Accords caucus in the Congress. I think we should consider starting an Abraham Accords caucus within the United Nations to build on President's success delivering that historic result, the greatest breakthrough for normalization in the Middle East in over a quarter of a century. I do share your commitment, Chairman Risch, to being good stewards of U.S. taxpayer dollars and ensuring all of our investments to any foreign policy strategy, and this goes hand in hand what Secretary Rubio testified, represents our American interests. Does it make America safer? Does it make America stronger? And does it make America more prosperous? So I hope to work effectively with this committee, our oversight members and our appropriators to ensure that we deliver reform and ensure that each dollar is going to strengthen our national security. I think we can look to the programs that are successes, which typically have strong American leadership and voluntary funding. One example is the World Food Program, which has significant bipartisan support on this committee in both chambers of Congress, and it's supported by the American people. And oftentimes, the most successful agencies within the UN, they have transparency, accountability standards, and are led either with strong American leadership or allied countries. So that's a bit of feedback to your question.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Just very quickly, one of the things that has really concerned me in recent years is we keep getting outvoted at the UN. And it turns out that every country has one vote. And then when you look around and you look at these countries that are voting against us, you find out that you got the Chinese in there spreading money throughout their government, to individuals in their government, to projects in these dinky little countries, and they buy their vote. This is a real problem, and it's a kind of thing that gets us to the point where we can't even get a resolution that condemns Russia for their invasion of Ukraine in absolute violation of the foundations of the United Nations. And when the Secretary General comes to see me, I always crank on him and say, look, you guys can't even get a resolution condemning this. What are you doing for us? How are you making this work? And I get a word salad in response. Your thoughts on this problem with the Chinese buying off these smaller countries?
It is no question, Chairman Risch, that the CCP has made significant inroads. This is a long-term strategy that they have at the United Nations, and we need to have strong American leadership working with our allies to push back on this. As you pointed out, every country, no matter what its size, gets one vote. I believe we need to have a strategy to push back, particularly on the CCP's inroads within the global south and even within the Western Hemisphere. I think we need to build on our, as you said, bilateral partnerships and make sure they understand the importance of a two-way partnership with the United States. I also think that the personnel strategy of the CCP has been of particular concern within the UN.
Clearly.
China has made inroads in placing CCP leaders and Chinese diplomats in positions as head of various sub-UN agencies, but also at the most junior level. So we need to have a human capital strategy working with our allies to push back on that.
I appreciate your thoughts in that regard, and I certainly have no objection to countries having a vote. What bothers me is that the corruption and the fraud when the Chinese buy off that vote with money is just flat wrong. Thank you for your thoughts.